ask a little true. I'd like to know your point of view.
Hi everybody, welcome to Evening TV. I'm Evening Ransom. What I always say is that narcissists and parents go together like abuse and love. They really are, they can't really go together because the inherent traits of a narcissist and the inherent qualities of a parent are just totally opposite. They're totally incompatible. Narcissists by nature don't want to put anyone else's needs ahead of their own. They don't lack empathy. They're selfish. They're emotionally immature. They have all these traits that are just the opposite of what you need to be in a parent. But they will become parents because they will do it for a lot of the wrong reasons, and they'll do it for parasitic reasons. They'll do it for things that the child can do for them. From the very beginning, you'll have this feeling that you're a burden and that you have a debt to pay that can never be repaid. That'll be an overwhelming feeling you'll get. You have to downplay your needs and downplay your feelings and downplay yourself because you're either or both you're not enough and too much. You're not good enough. You need to always be earning love by doing things, by pleasing them, by changing yourself, by modifying yourself, by getting good grades, by being really good at sports or arts or something. And so you need to always be earning the love, people pleasing them. And at the same time, you're too much. You're too emotional. You're too sensitive. Narcissism is a defense mechanism against intimacy. They have an intimacy disorder. Really resent deep emotions, deep feelings. Although they can rage, they are rageful, so they'll rage. But you're not allowed to be angry. You're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to be, anything but basically okay. And they want to deal with your issues and your problems anyway. So a narcissistic parent will have children for all the things that they can do for them. Because they'll have children because everyone has children and they're like a status symbol. It's like they have children because it's like getting a car and buying a house. It's one of the things you do to be an acceptable person. That's one reason they'll do it. They'll do it because they want to have someone can be a mini-me and live out all the dreams that they didn't do. It's just an extension of themselves. That's how they see children, as an extension of themselves. And they do objectify children. They see people as objects and things to be used. People have uses in their life, and that's why they have them. They'll also be envious of their children, and they'll compete with their children, and in just a way that's just very, very unusual and unnatural. They'll have impossible standards for their kids, and they'll criticize, and they put their needs ahead of the children. A huge red flag is they'll put their needs ahead of their children. They'll do inappropriate things like befriend their kids' friends, or flirt with their daughter's husband, or have a relationship with their daughter's husband separate from their daughter. It's just not appropriate. It's just not appropriate. They're not loyal. They'll fail to protect their child, and they get some joy out of it. The child's a scapegoat. They get some joy out of it when the child gets hurt. It almost seems like they get some sort of satisfaction, some supply out of that. 4 parenting styles, and 2 that are really dominated by the narcissist, and there are 2 that are really detrimental. Authoritarian parents are the ones where what I say goes, and they don't listen to their kids, and it's very dogmatic and very drill sergeant kind of thing. Authoritarian, they don't listen. It's I'm the parent, you're the child. That's it. Critical and not very affectionate. They don't balance it well with compliments and affection and warmth and fun. And so that's a narcissistic style of parenting. Authoritative, which tends to be the best style of parenting, which is where there is a difference, and there is the parent and the child, and there's a difference there, and the parent is the one in charge, but they listen to their child, they take it in. They can also give affection and warmth and have balance and all of that. There's still a division. I'm the parent, you're the child, and that's the bottom line. So it's secure, it feels safe, and the child feels protected. The third one is permissive, where the parents just want to be friends with the kids. They let anything go. Everything's fine. They don't say no, that kind of thing. And then the last one is indifferent, where they don't care, and the kid just can kind of do whatever they want. They raise themselves. They're neglected, and this is another narcissistic parenting style. So the authoritarian and the indifferent are narcissistic parenting styles, and they don't bode well for the kids. They don't have good outcomes. They're really basically the simplest, the easiest type of parenting, because if you just don't care or you just won't listen and it's just one thing goes, that's simpler than having to take the time to be empathic and caring and talk things through and explain things through and be an emotionally available parent. That's a lot harder. And it puts the child's needs first, and that's not what they're prone to do. Kids from narcissistic parents get used to earning love by doing what the parent approves of, doing things by pleasing their parent, by being pleasing, by doing what they want and being who they want them to be. So they modify themselves and tweak themselves, and they lose track of who they really are and what their needs are. They give up on their own needs. Narcissistic parents are controlling and manipulative. They can parentify the child and talk to the child about their issues that are too much for the child to deal with when they're a child. Share their adult problems with a child that's inappropriate and too much for the child to take on, and it's just awkward and inappropriate. So children that grow up with narcissistic parents can grow up with low self-esteem, not trusting themselves, narcissistic relationships, having a parent that's a narcissist. It's the most destructive because it sets you up for a lifetime of having to overcome these problems, of having to, you'll go through your life for a long time without knowing what the problem is. So you'll go through your life for a long time believing that this is normal and tolerating abuse and blaming yourself and having low self-esteem and people pleasing and learning all these ways of coping. As a child, that you learn to cope, that then as an adult, if you're lucky as an adult, you'll figure it out and then have to heal all this and undo all this and reparent yourself. And that's if you're lucky, and that takes a long time. If you're unlucky, what can end up happening is that you can end up just going through this abuse your entire life and be struggling to try and please people that will never be pleased. And you will also go into subsequent abusive relationships, most likely. I mean, every now and then I'll see someone that just somehow miraculously ended up getting involved with somebody really great and having a great marriage. But typically what happens is that we find problematic relationships, problematic friends, problematic boyfriends, girlfriends, and spouses. And what can end up happening is that you can wake up one day, this happened to me, you can wake up one day and realize that everyone in your life is abusing you. You can realize that you have drawn all these relationships into your life that are imbalanced, where you have been so concerned with everyone else's needs and let go of your own, and you didn't realize that it wasn't coming back to you, that people were using you and not appreciating you, and it can be crushing. It can actually be deadly. It can actually, can kill you, can ruin your health, which is what happened to me. It came to, in my case, it came to a health crisis. It came to a health crisis, and that's when everything got revealed. So yeah, narcissistic parent relationships are they're really toxic and they're really difficult to get over. And what you have to do to get over them, first of all, you have to get real. You have to embrace reality. That's the most important thing you can do. Get real about what your relationship is. Learn about narcissistic abuse, which is what you're probably doing here. But get real about what your situation is and understand that if your parent is a narcissist, there's not going to be a whole bunch of room for change. There's not going to be the reality is they're probably not going to change. So you have to come to terms with how you're going to deal with it. And the first part of healing it is to end the abuse. So you're going to have to temporarily or permanently put in some boundaries so that you can get some space to end more abuse, to keep more abuse from happening, so that you can start healing. And you may decide to go no contact. That may be what happens, or you may, for various reasons, decide to maintain some contact. But once you understand, it's way different once you understand what the problem is, because then you can do a lot to protect yourself once you understand what the problem is. So that's great, and anyone here watching this video is at that point, so that's really good. And then you have to learn to reparent yourself, which is basically giving to yourself all the things that you didn't get as a child, and it is possible to do. It really is possible to do. A lot of times when you kind of come to this is when you become a parent yourself. That also happened to me, is that It started breaking down once I had two little kids myself, and I started seeing how different I was towards them and how I was treated. Also, it's really important that you have radical acceptance about this situation. Understanding what's going on and that it's not going to change, and then figure out what you're going to do from there. Educating them, not a good idea. Trying to change them, not a good idea. It's just not going to happen, and it will blow up in your face, and it will just be so much stress and strain for you. And really, what you want to do is, once you figure out what's going on, you want to stealthily take care of yourself. You don't want to make big announcements about it. You want to, just take care of yourself on the down low as best you can. And as I said, having narcissistic parents will set the course of your life. It really will. And until you figure out what's going on, that's, you most likely will end up with a lot of abusive people in your life. And so it can be a brutal moment when you figure it out. So anyways, this relates back to that video about when your narcissist parent dies, and it's for those of you who maybe didn't understand why I would feel that certain way. Maybe now this video helps. If you can understand what it would be like to be raised this way and have a narcissistic parent, how that might feel different when they die than if you'd had a healthy relationship or a loving relationship, and why you might already feel like you've had a major loss, because of course you have if you have a narcissistic parent. So that's it. So that is what it's like to have a narcissistic parent. Okay, if there have been any questions or if there's anything you think I've missed, please put it in the comments, and I'll talk with you guys really soon.